I'm just gonna
Do you want to hurt these kids, or do you want to take it easy on them?
hurt these kids.
Somewhere in the middle, up.
How do you change a neighborhood?
Hey. Yeah, it's game time.
How do you make life better for your neighbors?
I shot him in the eye! Oh, I got my fingers! Jesus, that hurts so bad!
On the west side of Chicago, these are the questions that the YMEN organization has been wrestling with for 15 years.
I wanted to get involved with the youth and try to give back and you know, educate them in a way that they won't make the same mistakes that I made.
Come on, man, I called you at 8:25. 8:25.
How you doing, Tim?
9:25, you tell me you putting your socks on?
You got a big
Look,
foot.
I wake up at 6:30 in the morning, be at school at like 7:40.
What that got to do with today?
I take long to get ready, it's the moral of the story.
Shalon is one of the newest members of the YMEN staff.
Our primary contact with Shalon was actually through his sister.
My little sister, by the name of Aisha,
I got a brother who's made a lot of bad choices in life.
she said to me, why don't you go work at YMEN? And I said, what's a YMEN?
YMEN is a youth development organization that started in this man's basement. Mike's wife was a teacher at a local elementary school, and many of her students came over to get help with homework and to go out on outings like this one. 15 years later, YMEN not only benefits the youth in the program, but the mentors who run it.
I went to prison 4 times before the age of 25.
Originally from the Lawndale neighborhood, Shalon ended up in Rogers Park on Chicago's north side, where he became part of the Gangster Disciples.
I was a part of something that I felt it was organized. We had levels of respect. We treated each other like family. We took care of each other. And I thought that was a family.
But that perception didn't last long. He was set up and arrested for what will be his final time. It was the same day his baby was born.
I wasn't here to witness the birth of my firstborn. And I missed the first 18 months of his life. And I swore up and down that if I ever became a father, I'd be a lot better father than I was used to, what most kids are used to in this environment. And, you know, I just didn't want to be another statistic, even though I was already that statistic.
But he wouldn't be a statistic. Shalon will work hard. He'd overcome many obstacles.
I wanted to get into college and do something, but you know, due to my background, a lot of colleges were turning me down. I graduated truck driving school successfully, and then I started applying for truck driving companies, and I hit barrier after barrier after barrier after barrier.
And while he was doing that, YMEN was overcoming obstacles of its own.
You know, I've heard you can't change a neighborhood without neighbors.
A dream began to be developed, and if it will be fulfilled, YMEN will have a place for guys like Shalon.
I think it's one thing to read about people who are successful, another thing for kids to actually see young men who are successful in life.
One of the challenges of a youth program is the exciting opportunities that come as those young people mature. At first, we were just focused on getting them through junior high and into the best high schools possible. Then as they get older, then you're worried about getting them into colleges and how to pay for colleges, and hopefully they graduate those schools. And then we were faced with a great opportunity of, after our kids graduate college, what is next for them? And so we began to dream and to plan what the next stages of our organization were going to do. And we thought that, we really, first and foremost, wanted to bring those college graduates back to the Lawndale community.
And to do that, Mike felt like he needed to get this young man back into the community.
Not gang up on Xavier Day.
I think money is easy. I think money's never a limitation. Having the human capital to pull off a vision, that's hard.
I just finished up about a 3-year stint as a trader at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and I was planning on going into financial brokeraging.
Xavier obviously is a talented young man who we started when he was in 5th grade. My wife was his 5th grade teacher.
Watch yourself.
I'm gonna hit you in the back of your head. Yeah, I'm hitting you in the back of your head.
And he really applied himself academically and did well, went to Whitney Young, graduated from DePaul.
It is what it is.
I had, like any good recruiter does, I had my eyes set on him and what I could do to bring him back to Lawndale.
In 2008, I was on the board at YMEN. They invited me on as a college student. We always have one student representative on the board. And oftentimes they're in college, they're done with the sort of the high school and elementary school YMEN program. And Mike had been pushing me more and more to step down from the board and come on staff to be the development director for YMEN.
Xavier was bent on making a lot of money, and I think Xavier is going to make a lot of money. But I challenged him. I said, Xavier, I really believe you're going to be the first YMEN millionaire.
So he kept coming to me and saying the same thing. He was like, Xavier, you look like you're going to go out there and make $1 million. Why don't you come back and make it for the kids?
I said, what about making your first $1 million for Lawndale?
Mike, come on, Mike. I can write you a check, Mike.
What would it take for you to consider moving back into a community that many call the home of the permanent underclass?
And the biggest fear I had and the biggest problem I had with Lawndale was that I just couldn't relate to people. I couldn't. And as much as I may want to, I was on a different trajectory and I had been given different opportunities. My vocabulary was different. My clothes were different. My walk, everything was different. And so I stand out like a sore thumb.
Xavier's answer basically was a confirmation that our next steps were going to be around these young people returning from college. But he said, the main thing is a social network. These young people today need a social network. And he was living in Lincoln Park where he could, go down the street, there's the Starbucks, there's the Chipotle. He was living above a French bistro and, kind of living the large life. And I'm thinking, what will Lawndale offer this up-and-coming bright superstar, really?
I need people who've gone through that same experience to live next door to me and down on the floor below me or the floor above me. I need those types of people that I can relate to and talk to, and we can build something together. But the dude on the corner selling rock, I can't relate to him. I just can't.
And when he said a social network, I thought, aha. What he doesn't need is a Chipotle or a Starbucks. What he needs is a team of dynamic thinkers.
And so YMEN began to develop a strategy that will help equip young men to become established in their careers.
This is it right here, man. This is who I want to spend 5-10 years with, bettering myself and like how you graduated, how y'all graduated from college. That gives me motivation and saying, well, not only I want to be like them, but I want to be better.
YMEN will build a campus, let young men live there at a low rate, pay off their college loan, and help them buy a home if they move back into the Lawndale community.
He started talking more and more about this campaign idea and this campus idea he had. So this is the clubhouse. Yeah. It's I love it. And how he was planning on bringing leaders who were from the community back into the community. And of course, everybody says that. We're going to bring African-American leaders and people of promise back into this place and reintegrate them and gentrify this place the right way. And that's great, but I've never seen anything that looks like it's going to work towards that end. And so Mike laid it out. He went out and got this printing company to print up his dream on paper. And he's got all these pictures, and he's showing the block and how it's going to transform, and he's got the narrative written with it. And I'm like, this actually looks like something that could work.
So when you have a guy like Xavier and you have a partner like Mike saying, we're all in, here's what we want to do in our neighborhood, who wouldn't want to be a part of it? And it's a cliche, but I think the people who participate in helping fund this whole dream genuinely view this as a privilege to be a part of it.
It's a small, tight group that works inside that building, but it's a huge, huge network of people that are behind the scenes that make YMEN what it is. And it's not a business, it's not an organization, it's a family. And look at it that way. If anyone calls me and say they need anything within my reach, it's theirs. If I call them and say I need anything within their reach, it's mine.
And the guy in the corner selling rock, he became one of Xavier's roommates and worked side by side with him, mentoring the youth in Lawndale.
You don't get that going to work for JP Morgan. You don't get that going to work for Citibank. You certainly don't get that when you sign that piece of paper and you become an analyst for some investment bank and you're making $100,000 a year, working 20 hours a day. You never see your friends, and by the end of it, all you got is a bank account. You know, you don't get that in Lincoln Park.